You've seen it happen to somebody else. The guy in the meeting whose voice changes half a step and everyone at the table pretends not to notice. The driver alone in the next lane saying something to nobody. The friend who's fine, completely fine, right up until he isn't. And you've thought quietly that you're not like that, except last week you were. Something landed, a message, a tone, the fourth time you'd asked. And for about 90 seconds, you weren't the person you tell people you are. You didn't throw anything. That's not the point. You said the thing you'd been holding, in the voice you'd been holding it in. Or you didn't say it and it came out sideways 2 hours later at somebody who had nothing to do with it. Then you filed it under personality. I've got a temper. Always have. Here's what I want to show you. Anger isn't one thing that happens to you. It's three things that happen in order, and only the middle one belongs to you. The first one, you'll never stop. The third one, you can't steer. But there's a gap between them, and it's wider than you think. 5 moves. The fourth one is the one nobody wants to do, and it works faster than the rest. If you're new here, this channel turns Stoic philosophy into protocols you can run the same day. Subscribe if that's useful, and tell me in the comments, what's the thing that still gets you every time? The pressure? Start with somebody else because it's easier to see from outside. There's a man at your work who's respected and slightly avoided. People bring him good news quickly and bad news late. Nobody's ever said why. If you ask them, they'd struggle to explain it because it wasn't one incident. It was a tone, maybe 3 times in 2 years, and everybody quietly filed it. There's a father at your kid's game who's a good guy, genuinely, and there's a 2-second window after a bad call where his family checks his face before they do anything else. They don't know they're doing it. They've just learned to. There's somebody you love who apologizes too much for things that aren't their fault, and you've never quite worked out where they learned it. There's a woman on your team who runs every message past somebody before she sends it to one particular person, and she'd tell you she's just being careful. There's a guy who's never once raised his voice at home, and his kids still go quiet when his car pulls in, because there's a version of him that shows up maybe twice a year, and they've decided to plan around it. None of these people think of themselves as angry. Every one of them has a temper they've made peace with, and the people around them have made a different kind of peace with it. That's the part that doesn't show up in how you think about this. You measure your anger by the worst thing you've ever done. Everyone around you measures it by how carefully they have to move. Read that again, because it's the whole gap. You're grading yourself on your worst day. They're grading you on how much room they have to leave. And it's the only thing you do that you can't hide. You can be scared quietly. You can be jealous quietly. Not this one. Your face reports it before you've decided anything. Your voice changes, and the room hears it half a second before you do. So the cost isn't the moment. It's everything the moment teaches other people. It's your kid going quiet and studying the floor. It's the message still sitting there in the morning, in your name, with a timestamp. It's a colleague who stops arguing with you and never says why, and you'll read that as respect for about 4 years. Modern life made one specific thing worse. It removed the cooling off period. Here's what that means. For most of human history, if somebody wronged you, you had to physically go and find them to say so. That walk took time, and in that time, you cooled off and thought about how it was going to land. Nobody taught that as a technique. It was just built into the situation. Now there's no walk. You can answer in 4 seconds from a chair, and it's delivered before you've had a single thought about what it'll do to the person reading it. Every piece of old advice, sleep on it, cool off, take a turn around the yard, assumed a gap that technology deleted. Then the second injury shows up, and that's the one that actually shapes you. You're not just angry, you're embarrassed about being angry. So you promise it won't happen again, and you make that promise while you're calm, which is the one state where you can't reach the problem. Then it happens again. The promise gets a little smaller. After enough rounds, you stop making it, and you start calling it who you are. That's the trap most people never get out of. Not because they're weak, because they're fighting at the wrong moment. By the time you're fighting your anger, it's over. It was decided a few seconds earlier by something you didn't notice yourself do. The Stoic rule. About 2,000 years ago, a Roman named Seneca wrote 3 books on this. Not on managing your temper, on getting rid of it, He had reasons. He advised an emperor who killed people for entertainment, and he'd watched what an unchecked temper does when there's power behind it. He'd also watched ordinary people lose a marriage over one sentence at dinner. His conclusion was that anger isn't a mood, it's a sequence, and a sequence can be interrupted. Here's the part almost nobody quotes, and it's the most useful thing he wrote. Anger arrives in 3 movements. The first one is involuntary. Something lands and your body reacts before you've thought anything at all. Your face goes hot, your chest tightens, your stomach drops. And he's clear about this. That isn't anger yet, and it isn't yours. He compares it to how you can't help yawning when the person next to you yawns, or blinking when something comes at your eyes. It's a reflex. You'll have it until the day you die, and no amount of practice removes it. Take that as good news. You've spent years holding yourself responsible for a reflex. Say it another way. The heat isn't the anger. The heat is the warning that the anger is about to be offered to you. The second movement is where everything actually happens. Your mind offers you a story and you agree with it. He even writes the story out. It goes, I've been wronged, so somebody owes me. Look at how that's built. 2 claims stacked together. First, something was taken from me. Second, therefore somebody has to pay and I'm the one collecting. That isn't a feeling. It's a decision, and you made it, usually in under 2 seconds, usually without examining a word of it. The third movement is past steering. His description is that it overrides your reason and wants to hit back whether or not hitting back is deserved. Everybody's been here. It's the argument where you can hear yourself saying the thing you'll have to apologize for, and you say it anyway, and some part of you is watching from the ceiling while it happens. So here's the rule. The first movement isn't your fault. The third one isn't in your control. Everything you've got is in the second one. That reorganizes the whole problem. You've been trying to become a calmer person. That's the wrong target. The target is about 2 seconds in a story you agree to without reading it. That's the whole thing, so let me put it plainly one more time. Something happens and your body jumps. That part isn't yours. Then your mind hands you a reason to be angry, and you say yes to it. Then it runs you. You don't get a vote on the first part. You don't get a vote on the third. You get a vote in the middle, and it's short. The hidden trap. There's a reason you haven't fixed this already, and it isn't weakness. Part of you doesn't want to, because your anger works. It has a job. It's what makes people take you seriously the third time you ask. It's what holds the line. It's what shows up when something you love gets threatened, so giving it up feels like agreeing to care less. He heard that objection and didn't soften it. He puts it in his opponent's mouth. Anger is useful because it makes men readier to fight. Then he takes it apart. By that reasoning, being drunk is a virtue because drunk people are bolder. By that reasoning, losing your mind is a strength because it makes you stronger. Something adding force doesn't make it a tool. A tool is something you can pick up and put down, and then the argument that ends it. Either your anger is stronger than your judgment, or it's weaker. If it's weaker, your judgment could have done the job alone and didn't need it. If it's stronger, then it was never a tool, because you can't aim something that overpowers you. There's no third option. Whatever you think your anger has been doing for you, either you didn't need it or you were never the one holding it. Now the version you can check yourself. Think about the last time your temper got you what you wanted. You got compliance. What you paid was honesty. The person did the thing, and they did it to bring the temperature down, and next time they'll bring you a slightly smaller piece of the truth. That trade happens every single time, and the cost shows up months later, which is exactly why you never connect the two. Rome had a general named Fabius who understood this. The city mocked him for refusing Hannibal the battle everyone wanted, the loud one, the satisfying one. He counted what he had, worked out that losing any of it meant losing all of it, and refused. The line is that he beat his own anger before he beat Hannibal. So the choice isn't between anger and being a doormat, it's between anger and command. Command is the stronger of the two. It just doesn't feel like anything while you're doing it, which is why it never gets credit. The field protocol. 5 moves. 3 of them run inside the moment. 2 of them are training, and the training is what makes the first 3 possible. None of them need the other person to change, admit anything, or even find out. Move 1. Catch the first second. The heat gets there before the story does. There's a physical event, and then there's a decision, and they feel like one thing only because you've never once separated them. So separate them. Find your tell. Everybody's got one, and it's remarkably consistent. The jaw, the throat, the ears going hot, a tightening across the chest, the hands. Yours is the same every time. You've just never identified it, because in that moment you're always looking outward at whoever caused it. Find it once, on purpose, somewhere cheap. Somebody cuts you off. A meeting gets moved for the third time. Notice where it lands in your body. That's your alarm. And from now on, it means exactly one thing. A story is about to be offered to you, and you're about to agree with it. The instruction is to go after the beginnings, not the causes. He isn't telling you to avoid being provoked, because you can't. He's telling you the intervention gets more expensive every second you wait. So when you feel the tell, say one word to yourself, not a mantra, a label. First, that's it. First means, this is movement one, this is a reflex, nothing's happened yet, and I haven't agreed to anything. It sounds too small to do anything. It isn't, and here's why. Naming it puts a gap between the heat and the story where a second ago there wasn't one. You're not calming down. You're refusing to treat a reflex as proof. In plain terms, feel the tell, name it out loud in your head, and you've put a gap where there wasn't one. Move two. Test the story. Movement two is a claim, and claims can be checked. The story had two parts. Check the first one, and the second usually never gets written. Part one, something was taken from me. Almost every time, that's just not true. Not as comfort, as fact. So run it. Was something taken, or was I inconvenienced? Was something taken, or was I contradicted in front of people? Was something taken, or did reality just fail to match a schedule I built in my head and never told anybody about? Taken is a narrow category. Somebody has your thing. Most of what sets you off isn't that. It's friction, or somebody being careless, or somebody being exactly who they've always been while you kept expecting different. And when the answer is genuinely yes, something was taken, the second part fails on its own. Somebody has to pay. Do they? Is that your job? Is it even possible from where you're standing? The answer is that people who do harm are already paying, because having done it is the punishment, and nobody's punished harder than somebody living with what they did. That's not a nice sentiment, it's a claim about who's already paying. If they're the kind of person who feels it, it's being paid already and you're not needed. If they're not, then you're waiting on somebody who can't feel it, and you'll wait forever. So 2 questions out loud if you're alone. What was actually taken, and who's supposed to fix it? Most anger doesn't survive the first one. Almost none survives the second. Another way to say it, most of what you're angry about was never taken from you. It just didn't go the way you wanted it to, and those are not the same thing. Move 3. Buy an hour. Everybody knows you're supposed to count to 10. Almost nobody knows what the counting is for. Here's Seneca's line, word for word. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. And then he says something specific about why. You're not asking for time so you'll forgive it. You're asking for time so you can judge it properly. And he makes a claim you can test. If it waits, it ends. Not it feels better, it ends. His position is that anger can't survive being examined, and the only reason it ever finishes the job is speed. The delay is exactly what modern technology deleted. So put it back on purpose, because willpower won't supply it. Decide these 3 strategies now, while you're calm, because you can't decide them later when you feel the anger creeping up on you. A fixed amount of time, 1 hour minimum. Overnight for anything written before you respond. A physical action that starts the clock. Phone face down and out of reach. Stand up and leave the room. The same action every time, so it stops being a decision. And 1 sentence you're allowed to say before you go. I need an hour on this. That sentence matters more than it looks. It's the difference between taking time and walking out. Walking out is its own kind of shot, and people feel it. So plainly, nobody's asking you to be nice about this. You're being asked to wait long enough to think clearly. One more thing. This only works before you've agreed. Once you're in the third movement, an hour isn't cooling off. You'll spend it writing the speech. That's why this is move 3 and not move 1. Move 4. Look at your own face. This is the one people skip. Do it anyway. It works faster than anything else here. Seneca's own teacher used to tell angry people to look in a mirror while it was happening. His words, "They have been, as it were, brought into their own presence and have not recognized themselves." Anger has a view from the inside, and it's flattering. It feels like clarity. It feels like finally being honest. It feels like the one moment all day you're not performing. His whole first book is the correction, page after page of what it looks like from a chair 3 feet away. Not a portrait of somebody formidable, a portrait of somebody who isn't home. You won't find a mirror mid-argument, so use the thing that's actually stronger. Use the witness. Name the person in the room in your mind and work out what they're watching. Not what they think about who's right, what they're seeing in your face and hearing in your voice, and what they'll still have long after the argument itself is settled and forgotten. There's one story that ends the discussion. A boy who grew up in Plato's household went home, saw his father shouting, and said, "I never saw anyone at Plato's house act like that." Then he adds the part that should keep you up. He says he doesn't doubt the boy learned to copy his father faster than he ever learned to copy Plato. That's the real cost, and it never appears anywhere you can check. Your anger isn't only costing you the room. It's teaching. Somebody's learning it from you, and they're learning it faster than they learn anything you actually say. Put it another way, you can't see your own face. Everybody else in the room can, and they're the ones keeping the record. Move 5. Review the day before you sleep. The first 4 run in the moment. This one is the training, and without it, the other 4 are just something you watched once. That same teacher had a habit. At the end of the day, before sleep, he put himself on trial. What bad habit did you cure today? What did you check? Where are you better than you were? He took it up himself, and his description of doing it is the most human passage in 3 books. He says that when the lamp is out and his wife has stopped talking, he goes back over the whole day and repeats everything he said and did, and hides nothing from himself. The most powerful advisor in Rome, lying in the dark, going back over his own day. And notice how he talks to himself. He isn't flogging anything. He notes what went wrong, says what he'll do instead, and moves on. Then the line that explains why this is a move and not an extra. He says anger settles down and gets gentler once it knows it'll have to answer for itself every single day. That's mechanical, not moral. Behavior that gets reviewed at night starts anticipating the review. You're not building willpower. Willpower is the thing that fails at the spike. You're putting a consequence early enough in the chain that the second movement starts hesitating on its own. In plain terms, a habit that gets checked every night starts behaving before you get there to check it. 3 questions in the dark, 60 seconds. Where did I feel it today? What story did I agree to, and was it true? What do I do differently tomorrow in that exact situation? Nothing to write down. He did it in bed with the lamp out every night for years, and that's the only reason any of it made it out of the study and into his life. The protocol in the field. Here's all 5 in one ordinary evening, because a protocol that only works in a book is a hobby. It's 20 to 6. You're in the car outside your own house, and you check the phone one last time, which is the mistake, but everybody makes it. There's a message from work. It's short. It hands something you built to somebody else, and the tone is casual, which is somehow the worst part. 11 seconds to write, and it's going to cost you the whole evening. Your ears go hot. That's the tell. Move 1. You say the word. First, nothing's happened yet. Move 2, and you run it before you get out of the car. What was actually taken? Not how it feels. What was taken? Credit? Ownership? Or a version of the next 6 months you'd built in your head and never told anyone about? Say it out loud, because out loud is harder to lie in. Then the second question. Who's supposed to fix it? Not you, not tonight, not from a car with your thumb. What was actually taken? Who's supposed to fix it? Those two questions, in that order, every single time. You'll be surprised how rarely anything survives them. Move 3. Phone face down on the passenger seat. That's the action. 1 hour minimum, and because it's written, overnight. If it needs a holding line, it gets 1. Seen this, I'll come back to you in the morning. 9 words, no temperature, and you just bought 14 hours. Move 4, and this is what saves the evening. You go inside. Somebody's in the kitchen. Work out what they're watching, because the honest answer is they're about to watch somebody who's technically present and actually somewhere else, answering on a 2-second delay, and they won't know why. And one of them is young enough to learn something from it. Move 5 is at 11, lights out. Where did I feel it? Ears, in the car. What story did I agree to? They took it from me, and somebody has to say something. Was it true? Half of it. Something was taken. Nobody had to say anything tonight. What do I do differently? I stopped checking the phone in the driveway. Notice what never happened. You didn't calm down. You never once tried to feel differently about any of it. You made 4 small mechanical moves, and the feeling followed. Why it works. Every move goes after the same 2 seconds. Not what they did. You don't control that. Not the reflex. That one's involuntary and always will be. All 5 go after the moment where a story gets offered, and you agree to it. Move 1 puts a name on the moment before the story. Move 2 checks whether the story is true. Move 3 takes away the speed it needs. Move 4 brings in the outside view it can't survive. Move 5 makes the whole thing something you'll answer for tonight. Anger can't happen without your agreement. That's not a motivational line. It's how the thing is built, and it's why none of this needs anything from the other person. They can be completely wrong. They can be unrepentant. They can do it again next Tuesday. It doesn't matter because every one of these moves is on your side of it, and there's a second effect nobody expects. The people around you get calmer too. Not because you manage them, because somebody who doesn't escalate stops supplying the escalation, and most of what's in a room got brought in by somebody else. Seneca puts the whole thing in one line, and after 3 books of argument, it lands like a shrug. We are bad men living among bad men. There is only one thing which can afford us peace, and that is to agree to forgive one another. Marcus Aurelius, running an empire in a war, got to the same place in 9 words in a private notebook. The best revenge, he wrote, is to not become like them. Both of them got there by counting, not by being nice. You can't fix other people. You can stop being one more of them. The field test. This week, not someday, 7 questions, tonight, 60 seconds. 1. What's my tell, and where do I feel it? 2. Who reliably sets it off? 3. Last time, what was actually taken? 4. Was I injured or just inconvenienced? 5. What's my fixed delay, and what action starts it? 6. Who's watching me, and what are they learning? 7. What's the one sentence I say before I leave the room? Don't write anything down if you'd rather not, but answer 5 and 7 before you need them, because those are the 2 you can't answer while you're angry. Then run the night review tonight and again tomorrow. 2 days is enough to feel the hesitation show up. That hesitation is the whole thing. The command gained. Untrained, your temper costs you the room, the evening, and slowly the version of yourself you'd have preferred to be. It takes it in payments small enough that you never file a complaint. Trained, one thing changes, and it isn't that you stop feeling the heat. You'll feel it tonight. What changes is that the heat stops being a decision. It becomes information. Something you value just got touched, delivered to somebody who now gets to decide what, if anything, happens next. That's the command gained. Not a calmer person, somebody who reads his own alarm and stays the one who answers it. And go back to where we started. The guy in the meeting whose voice changes half a step. The family with the 2-second window after a bad call. Nobody around them is keeping score on purpose. They're just leaving room, the way people always leave room. The work here isn't to become somebody who never feels it. It's to become somebody they don't have to leave room for. Your temper was never your personality. It's a story you've been agreeing to too fast, and you've just been handed the 3 seconds it takes to read it. Tell me in the comments, What's your tell and where do you feel it? Subscribe for practical Stoic protocols for modern pressure. This is the Stoic Field Manual, ancient wisdom for modern pressure. The next one to watch is, when the pressure won't stop, do this. 5 Stoic moves. It's on screen now. Command is quiet. Practice it.